Jen Risley. Today's guest is the Director of Operations for the American Independent Business Alliance, or AMIBA, which works to support local businesses. In April, it is leading Move Your Money Month, encouraging people to bank with local banks or credit unions. She'll share insights about her work and her superpower. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe. Welcome to the Superpowers for Good show, where we empower you. Jen, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. I am so excited to talk to you.
Thank you.
Well, you're doing some amazing stuff at AMIBA, and so we're going to talk about Move Your Money Month. But before we get to that, will you just tell people a quick overview of AMIBA?
Sure. So AMIBA, American Independent Business Alliance, has been around for quite a while, about 20 years. And I've worked for them about a year, but I've known them for much, much longer. In our community, I live in New Hampshire. We actually started, and it's called the Independent Business Alliance. So it's business owners, individuals who are really passionate about their local economy. They get together and they form a nonprofit a lot of times. So when we formed ours, maybe about 12 years ago, we got in touch with AMIBA, and they were the group of people who helped us along the way to get formed. So I've known about them for a while and feel really lucky to work for them now and help all these other groups get started and grow and learn together. So it's been a really great privilege.
Well, it is an important movement that you're helping to organize, and it goes far beyond a mere buy local these days, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It does.
Let's talk a little bit about Move Your Money Month. What is Move Your Money Month about?
Yeah, so we celebrate, this is our second year actually as an organization trying to move Your Money movement forward. And so it's happening in April. And it originally started in 2008 in the Occupy movement. And it was all about, moving your money from big banks to local community banks and credit unions. So that was really popular for a while, and then it kind of went quiet. So we wanted to bring it back, but we also wanted to add a layer of not just banking local, but investing local, because we all know that there's a lot more money that we're investing local, even if we're, just have retirement funds, and we aren't accredited investors that are investing a lot in big businesses. But there's a lot of opportunity for us to invest in our independent businesses locally. So we just want to make people realize that they don't have to just think of themselves as consumers, but they are investors and creators and everything else that it makes us multidimensional people. So that's really what April's all about.
And, it's interesting to look at how banking has changed in my lifetime. One of my very first jobs, my first real job, I often say, was working at a savings and loan.
Cool.
This is nearly 40 years ago, back in the 80s. And, the savings and loan took in local deposits and made local housing and to some extent, some commercial loans. But it was all local. That's all we did. And, all those savings and loans blew up.
Yeah.
And they're gone. Now there's still some credit unions around, but part of what's happened is those the assets of that little savings and loan where I worked for my first real job are now really part of Wells Fargo. Through a couple of acquisitions and mergers, now it's been rolled up into Wells Fargo, this big multinational bank that no longer has a particular interest in the community where I lived and worked all those years ago. What are you seeing in terms of banking and how it's changed over the last few decades?
Yeah, I mean, being in New Hampshire, we do have a number of community banks and credit unions, but even, our community banks are all really hyper local are even having to band together in order to, have the technology capabilities that they need right now with cybersecurity, or just being able to compete against Bank of America and other larger banks. So I've seen that happen. But overall, in our community, we're extremely lucky to have community banks. We even have some banks that are B Corps. So thinking about their triple bottom line, and we actually have one of our local banks going to be a partner during Move Your Money Month, and so they're ready to kind of talk about the fact that they're so much more than a bank, and really investing in our local businesses, but also investing in local infrastructure and housing and all the things that we need to have a vibrant community. So while I know it's not like that everywhere, I feel really glad that I have those partners locally that can help me amplify the message. So what we do, or what I do during Move Your Money Month, is that we have our partners. So people who have signed on to say, yep, I'm going to promote Move Your Money Month the whole month. And then I just watch what they're doing. And I create a newsletter every week, kind of grabbing what they're doing, finding resources and inspiration so that we can all kind of keep the momentum, keep the message going. Because as you must know, it's really challenging to keep the excitement up on social media and online when there's just all these other messages being thrown at people. So I feel like every year we do it, we learn more, and we get inspired by our partners. So I'm really excited to have you part of Move Your Money Month this year. I think it's going to be fantastic. And then having this super crowd conference happening, a little bit afterwards too, will just keep the momentum going. So I'm excited.
Yes. Well, thank you. And we're excited to have you on the program at Supercrowd 23. It is going to be a great event. And it brings up a key topic, that one of the ways to move your money is to invest in local businesses. And one of the great ways that people can use to do that now is through crowdfunding. And there are lots of crowdfunding sites. I think few people appreciate how many there are and how easy it is to find an opportunity to invest in a local business in almost any community in the country right now.
Yeah, a lot has changed, definitely, in that arena.
Yeah, one of the tools that I recommend to people is a website called King's Crowd that allows you to do an instant search, and you can search for all of the crowdfunding offerings that are available at any moment in time. And you can search by all kinds of different criteria, including the location. So you can find the
great
offerings near you. And it might be on some of those offerings are going to be on WeFunder, right? On a platform that you're familiar with, but some of them are going to be on a platform that you've never heard of. I don't want to insult anyone by naming a name now, but there are literally dozens of crowdfunding, investment crowdfunding sites. Some of my favorites for local investing are Honeycomb Credit, where it's almost always dead, and there are others as well. So it's a great tool, and that's an effective way to move your money to a local thing, right?
Absolutely. And the amount that you feel comfortable with, there's lots of options. So it wasn't the case, 10 years ago. So it's really fantastic. And one thing that we're talking about right now is actually, we call it Choose Indie Sustainable Month. So we're talking about co-ops and triple bottom line businesses, which will kind of lead us to next month. But just the fact that, cooperatively owned businesses are a way for us to also move our money. When your co-op has a member loan campaign, it makes it really, really easy for you to invest some of those dollars locally and actually be able to walk into that business every day and get that benefit, instead of, someone who might be down the street or in the other town or in the other state. It really makes it so much more tangible to do that.
Yeah, that's a great point. So Jen, you shared your story of kind of creating the local nonprofit to focus people on buying and investing locally. What was the trigger for creating that? What got you interested in these issues of local independent businesses?
Yeah, that is a really great question. It was like an evolution. It evolved. I was a teacher for some years, and then I left teaching and started working for a business incubator. And that's really where I got really jazzed up about the local economy work.
Yeah, that is fascinating. Tell us more about that transition from teaching.
Yeah, I mean, I taught fifth grade, and it was the best work
Mhm.
ever. It taught me how to multitask and keep everything in order. And so I became a much better everything from that experience. And then, working for a local business incubator, it was really great to connect with the local entrepreneurs and be able to just see what they needed, and then developing workshops and programs that met their needs was really a fantastic opportunity. And that's when I got really interested in forming a food co-op in our community. So that is kind of what sucked a lot of my energy and enthusiasm in, from working with all these locally owned businesses to trying to create a local food co-op that was going to boost our local food system.
Yeah. So did that come together? Did you get that co-op off the ground?
10 years ago this month. So it's been wildly, fantastically successful. So we feel really excited about that. Yep. After a lot of years, a lot of people making it a go, but about, 3 years ago, we expanded right around COVID. But it was just amazing that we could go from, opening a store to expanding 7 years later, surviving COVID, and then thriving and able to celebrate on the other side of everything. But it's been a really great opportunity to see that the co-op model can work, even though, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I imagine so. But what a great thing, that the value that must bring to your community. Tell us a little bit about your community there in New Hampshire.
Yeah, so we have, we're small, but we're considered a city. I live in Keene, New Hampshire, which is in southwest New Hampshire. And I live right, a 3-minute walk from downtown. So I'm very lucky to be able to walk and bike to work, and, being able to bike and walk to our major, grocery store, which is a co-op that all of us, 4,000 people own. It's just, it's a fantastic place to live. I moved here. I used to live in New York State, came here for graduate school, Antioch University. And that's where I, got my degree to be a teacher. And it's really been, I felt really lucky to find this place. I thought I would come here to New Hampshire and study and then leave, but this is a place that kind of grabs you in, because if you want to volunteer, if you like to do work, community work, there's always lots of things that need people rolling up their sleeves and doing the good work. So it's a good place for me.
Yeah. Well, that is wonderful. I imagine that you can see in your small city the impact of your work in a fairly vivid way, right?
Mm-hmm.
The impact on the community from the co-ops and the local investing and local banking, all of that, you can see kind of the effect that has. In a large city, it may be harder to see, but the effect is just as real, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. It's easy to forget that, especially because I've been here for, like 15 years now. So I think it's easy to underestimate things. And so, especially during COVID, because you weren't having those direct interactions with people. But the other day I went to an event and people were, just coming up to me and be like, "Oh, I read that article about X, Y, and Z." And, I have some things to say, and I always am just really surprised about that, because you feel like you aren't making a difference, or that your message or your vision or mission is kind of getting diluted. But there are people who are listening, and there are opportunities to make a difference. So it's always great to be reminded of that.
So, Jen, you have accomplished and done so much. What is your superpower?
Yeah, I think my superpower is finding the connections between things, meaning connections between different pursuits, or different silos, or different movements. So it's hard for me to stay in one lane. So I might have started in local food and farming, but I can see the bigger connections and why you need to bring in local business owners, or why you have to think about housing or crowdfunding or local banks or whatever it might be. Like every aspect of the local economy, I get really excited about. So my job at AMIBA is perfect, because we have 9 campaigns throughout the year, from banking locally and investing locally, to triple bottom line businesses, to Black-owned businesses, to Pride Month. So it lets me kind of explore all these different niches, and then find all the connections between those niches to just make us all better. I feel like that's my superpower. Taking also, like, learning from social media. It can be a time suck for a lot of people, but for me, it's my opportunity to do research and connect with people and build relationships. So I feel like that's something that I'm able to do pretty well.
Yeah, that's important. That's important. Well, this is a great superpower that you're talking about, being able to connect these different concepts. It's relatively easy. We started the conversation with this idea that it's easy to see kind of the value of buy local, but if we stop with buy local, we miss out on some of the other opportunities to help build our local community, from banking local and investing local, say through crowdfunding and participating in co-ops. So it's interesting that you've developed this ability to bring these adjacent ideas together, to connect them.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us, can you think of a specific example where you brought some ideas together like this in a way that had an outcome that you're excited about?
Yeah. So I think one that was a surprise to me was in October, we did our very first Shop Indie Art Month. So it was all about artists and artisans, and it was just pretty impressive to see how that brought in placemaking, brought in permaculture, brought in pretty much every other topic that we were talking about, but on the lens of people who are creating things, and just expanding that to just not just supporting people who are called artists, but supporting you as a creator of things. That was, I feel like, while we started that momentum last year, I feel like it's going to be a lot stronger now, with people thinking themselves as like, I'm an artist, I'm someone who's creating things in my local economy, in my community, in, X, Y, and Z ways. So I feel like that's been that was a really great opportunity to kind of stretch myself in how we do these campaigns.
Excellent. Now, Jen, I think a lot of people that are listening are thinking to themselves, oh, I see. This is a powerful skill. And I've done that once or twice. I can think of an example, but I'd like to do it better. I'd like to be able to make these strategic connections of ideas better, more effectively. As you think about your experience doing this, what would you offer as a tip to help people learn to do this better?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like finding that topic. I love to do research. So finding that topic and having some kind of tangible outcome that you have to have at the end of, a month. So for me, it's been, I write an article for our local weekly, free paper once a month.
Mhm.
And that just keeps me really honest with, okay, I'm going to learn more about local investing this month, and I'm going to write an article that's really accessible to our whole community, not just for people online that are looking to learn more about local investing, but really trying to bring someone in who's not even thinking about it. So that makes me, do some research, write some things, and then revise, and then have to produce something at the end of the month. And then the next time I come around that topic again a year later, then I have to think about, well, how am I going to make this relevant and not just the same information over and over? So I've had a whole year of kind of finding things on Twitter and Facebook and my colleagues and people like you, and just having all these notes that I can go back to. So I think it is like that, being a lifelong learner, using social media in ways that, you're using hashtags, or, you're just not using social media as a way to kind of distract yourself, but you're using it as a way to learn new and creative ideas from people you've never connected with before. So that's kind of how I've done it, and it's just a lot of fun to do it that way.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. What a great set of suggestions. I really appreciate that. Well, Jen, again, we're excited to have you come speak at SuperCrowd 23. And it's exciting for me as the host to be thinking about how investment crowdfunding can be a tool for so many different things, from allowing people to invest in solutions to global problems like climate change and global public health and social justice, and also such a powerful tool for helping people build local communities. And
Absolutely.
we 100% of us live in a local community, right? And so there's this opportunity for all of us to be conscious now about investing in our communities. And so often there are opportunities for us to invest right in local businesses. So I'm excited for you to come and talk about that topic.
Oh, well, thank you for the opportunity, Devin.
Before we wrap up, Jen, I wonder if you would take a minute and talk about how people can learn more about AMIBA, your work in North Carolina, in New Hampshire.
Sure.
I was thinking about some friends that are doing local investing in North Carolina. That's horrible. But in New Hampshire, you've got your nonprofit, you've set up your co-ops. Tell us a little bit more about how people can connect into all of that work that you're doing, how they can follow you on social media, how they can email you or connect you, if whatever works for you. Tell people how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the easiest way is just to go to AMIBA.net, and that's AMIBA.net. Also, follow us on social media or send me an email at Risley@AMIBA.net, because we love to connect and hear more from people.
Fantastic. Well, Jen, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. You're doing such important work to build communities and to create a model for everyone to follow for investing more, spending more locally, and building up our own local communities. And I want to see you succeed with that. I want to wish you every success, because we all benefit when you are successful.
Thank you so much.
All righty, let's do some good. Thank you for tuning in to the Superpowers for Good show. Twice each week, we host changemakers who share their impact, insights, and superpowers. Don't miss another episode. Subscribe today at superpowersforgood.com. That's superpowers 4good.com. Be super empowered. Get your copy of the book, Superpowers for Good, as an ebook, audiobook, paperback, or hardcover edition via your favorite online retailer. Interested in having me speak to your company, organization, or association? Visit devinthorpe.com. Then let's talk. Now, keep using your superpowers for good. Together, we can reverse climate change, improve global health, and eradicate poverty.